Are you new to programming in JavaScript? Then this tutorial is for you. Hi everyone, my name is Yeza, and I'm an instructor at Integrify Academy. We upload new content on YouTube every Thursday. Today I'm going to continue the JavaScript series with arrays. So if you like the video, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe buttons, and let's go. All right, so let's start with the arrays. And we have a couple of things that we're going to talk about. It's first of all is how to create an array, accessing an array elements, modifying some of the arrays methods, and then iterations, as well as the structuring and sprint operator. So let's take one at a time. So in creating an array is basically all what you need to do is first assign it to a variable. So let's just call that maybe numbers, or let's call it data for a moment. And then you specify it with the square brackets, and then the array can accept any data types. It could be a list of numbers, or it could be a list of strings like A, B, and C, as well as it could be also options like, hey, there's a title, and the title is arrays in JavaScript. And what else? It can accept also array, so it will be maybe like a two-dimensional array, and this array could be, I don't know, like a tuple array, or it could be more than 2 elements. So you can see here the array accepts any kind of data types, as well as like null or undefined. It's up to you what do you want to hold in there. So that's basically how you create an array. And then let's talk about accessing array. So we know that the let's first of all, I don't know, maybe just keep it the when type. Usually the arrays are always at the same type. So you don't see arrays of strings or numbers most of the cases. So let me just go maybe with numbers here, and I will rename this to numbers. And you can see here if I would console log. Let me just open the integrated terminal. Oh, that's quite common. I will increase also the font here, as well as this. Cool. So if I know this, you can see that the arrays of numbers here. Cool. So let's talk about accessing arrays. So the arrays, it starts with index not 1, but 0. That's how it's in programming languages. So this the first index is 0. That's the second, third, or sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The naming here are a bit confusing. Let me just change this to basically just, I would say, just basically A, B, C. So we don't get confused with these numbers. I think that's a bit confusing. Cool. So just say like characters. All right. So yeah. So accessing element. So if I want to access the first element, so let's basically just log it, log the element. So if I say characters, and then what's happening here? Characters. Cool. So if you want to access it, you access by the square brackets, and then you define which index do you want to access it. So if you want to access the first index, then you start with 0. If you want to access the second index, then you start with 1. So you can see here, if I want to access the first, the second, and the third, so the first is 0, and so on, and run that script, you can see that we're getting A, B, and C. So that's basically how you want to access an array. And if your array is an object, so maybe we go with students, and we have an array of like maybe students. So we'll just go with only name, John, and what would be our second one? No, but Smith. So basically, if you want to access those kind of arrays, so it's an array of objects, you see. So basically, you say students, and then you define which index do you want to access. So if you want to access the first one, then 0, and then you are right now at the object level. So it's up to you what property you want to access. So then you dot, and we know that we have name there. So dot name. So basically what this would do is it would access the first element of this, which is an object, and the name property, which is going to print John. If we run it, you can see that it's printing John here at the right side. So yeah, that's basically how you access elements. It's pretty straightforward. There are definitely different ways, but let's just maybe keep this here. And last, or not last, actually, is how we want to modify elements. But you know what? Let me just remove this entire stuff here and just basically keep what we have next. So modifying elements. So basically, if you want to override an element, so how do you do that? It's as easy as that. So you basically you define which index do you want to access. So if you want to access the second one, then you go with the 1. And then you would say, okay, so I want to change from B to B, or maybe G, right? So if I try now to kind of console log the character array, like the updated one. So what I'm going to get is this. You can see now we have overwritten the second element in the array, and instead of B, now it's G. Because we're basically kind of modifying the array. Yeah, that's how easy it is. So, but you basically can overwrite anything with that. Maybe you want to have 1, 2, 3, and when you write, you see now we have 1, 2, 3 that element. Cool. So let's talk a bit here about the array method. So here there are some of these methods, and so what do we have? We have let me just keep this here as commented. So we have the push. Push, it adds 1 or more elements to the end of the array, That's basically push. And then we have pop. Pop also, what it does is it removes the last element from the array. And then what else? We have unshift. Those are like really common count methods that you would use if you want to manipulate data within that array. And unshift, what it does is it adds 1 or more, but it's unlike push. Push adds it to the end of the array. Unshift adds it to the beginning of the array. Cool. So then let's with 2 more at least. So we have the shift, and what does shift is it removes the first element of the array. That's what it does. They're a bit confusing. Like even for me, if I want to kind of use one of these, I could, okay, which one was that? So it's fine if you're confused, but just know that these are like the possibilities. Just be aware of these methods that they exist. And lastly, the last method that I want to talk about here is the splice. Splice, what it does is it adds or removes elements from an array at specific specific index. Cool. So these are like in general. That's the one I want to talk about today. We are going to have a tutorial which is going to talk more into more advanced arrays, built-in arrays like the map, filter, find, and few more. I think that would be the next one. But for now, we're going to stick with this so far. So let's see. We have basically because we're not axing here. Let's just maybe do this, or let's just go back with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. And yeah, let's go with the first one. So let me just log the numbers at the bottom here. So whatever changes we do, we're going to see it immediately. So if I do numbers dot push and then I push number 6. So right now, if I do run this, what's going to happen is it's numbers with us. Clear up, run again, and you can see here it's like it adds the number 6 at the end of it. Cool. So let's see what pop will do. We know that pop will remove the last element. So let me add like number maybe 7, and then what I will do here is I will say numbers dot pop, and let's see what it does. If I run that, you see that the number 7 that we had here, if I console log before that, and then log it, you see that we got the number 7, but because we popped it out, then we removed it from the end of it. What else do we have? We have the unshift. The unshift adds 1 or more to the number. So if I say numbers dot shift and then 0, so now we're going to add 0 to the beginning of the array. If I run it, what do we have here? We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, sorry, it's unshift for now. Unshift is to add, shift is to remove the first element. So it's unshift, we kill it, and you can see now we have 0 added to the beginning of the array. Maybe I want to unshift like -1 here, and then you can see if I run it now, let me just speed this up. I can see we have -1 of the first index of this array. What if I want to, I don't want -1. What you could do here, you could say, okay, let's shift. So you can now shift, and what shift would do is it will basically, if I run it here, you can see it removes the first element. And yeah, so that's basically it. And what is it else is we can talk about iteration and how to iterate over the array. So again, this is I'm going to cover that in more depth, in more built-in methods in the next kind of next part, okay. But for now here, let's go with the basics. So that's with the for loop. So I would say for let I is equal 0, and then what this is, we're going to say, okay, so we have kind of this kind of accumulator or this kind of number that tracks what is the current index we have. So the second condition we have is if I is less than numbers dot length. If that's so, then we are going to keep on looping, and we are going to plus plus. So what this means is if this is 0, then the first iteration will be 0. The second iteration, because the 0 is if the length of the array is, I don't know, 3, for example, and here is 0, so certainly 0 is less than 3, right? Because that's true, then we are going to fire up the third condition here, which we're going to increase the index by 1. And when we do so, we go to the second iteration. And the second iteration will be 1, for example. And then we're going to say, okay, so if this is 1, is 1 less than 3, for example? Yes, it's less than 3. Then cool, let's continue. Then what do we do here is we increase the number of index, we do another iteration, and so on until we meet that, okay, this is it. Now the index is now equal or more than the length, though we're not going to continue further. It depends on here what is the kind of the condition you put. If it's less, equal, or less than equal, or greater, or whatever you do. So that's basically it. So what you could do here, you could say log. I want you to log all my numbers and the index with the I. So the index, it represents here the current index of this current iteration. What is that? So the first iteration is 0, the second is 1, the third is 2, and so on and so forth. So now if I would run this, what are you expecting? Exactly. So 1, this is the first iteration, 2, the second iteration, 3, and so on and so forth. And then you could do whatever you want to do in each specific iteration. Maybe you want to add number 2 in the first iteration, and it's up to you how you want to manipulate your data. So lastly, or let's cover the last 2 topics here very quickly, is what do we have here? We have the array destructuring. And array destructuring is like an ES6 syntax. It's pretty cool. And so you basically use it most of the time, especially if you are like, if you develop in React, then yeah, you definitely will use it more often. So what is it? So basically what do we have here? We have this array 1 to 5. And then what do you want to do? You can destruction array. So what I mean by destruction. So basically you could, let's start the numbers here. You could say that, so destruction, if it's array destruction, then you start with the square brackets. There is an object destruction, but here's we're talking about array destruction. And what this means is that we can take the, so if I put here first and this is second, what this means that it will map to the index here. So when we destructure it that way, and if I want to console log first and I want to console log second, it's the first is going to, let me just put that in order. The first will map to the first index. Here will map to the second index. And by the way, you can call whatever you want to call it. The name doesn't really matter. But what matters is the order. So the first one maps to this first. And so if what if you want to access the third, but you don't really want to pick the second, what you could do is you could just leave it empty and have like, like this empty space, and then third here, and then the third will be accessed and you don't access to the second. But yeah, just keep in mind that the order really matters here. So if I do run this right now, what I'm going to get is first is 1 and second is 2. You see, we can now get these 1. So this is kind of equivalent to something like that. So what if like, this I would call just code 1. This is equivalent to something like numbers, and then you take the first index, and then this is 2, you take the second index. So yeah, this is equivalent to accessing the element via the index. Exactly the same thing, exactly. But this one is, the array destructuring is more like ES6 syntax. Looks cooler. Yeah, and it's up to you what do you want to use. So this is the next one is I'm going to talk is basically something like kind of like a bridge between the destructuring and the spread. But what I mean by that is we can have definitely a different topic talking about destructuring and spread in detail. So if you like to hear more about this, let me know in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to do a tutorial about it. But here, if we want to combine spread operator and the destructuring, so what we could do here. So for example, what if you are on a race and you only care about the second, third, and third from numbers. And we have here, let me just remove those. So what if you only care about the first, second, third, and the rest are just, just the rest of the contents. So it goes contest or like racers, whatever you want to have here. So this is here called like a rest operator, which basically what it does is so we know already that the first takes the first index, which is 1, and then the second takes the second index, which is 2. Third takes the third index here, like 3 or 1, 2, 3. It's a bit confusing, but remember it starts with 0. So if 0 is first, 1 is second, and 3 is it's a bit confusing because the numbers here are confusing. If they were ABC, it will make a lot of sense. You know what? Let me just do that really quickly because C, D, and E. Okay, so first will be A, and second will be B. The third will be C. Then if you want to get the D and E, but you want to get them together, So this is where you use the spread operator, and what it does, it will take everything, all the rest, and combine them and put them in one array. So let's see that. If I console log first, I console log second, console log third, and I console log rest. Let's change the order. Let's see what we're gonna get. Cool. So what did we get here is, you can see first is A, B is second, third is C, and then the rest is array of the rest of the elements. Cool. Yeah, again, we can talk way more deeper in that. If you want me, don't forget to leave a comment below and then mentioning that, hey, let's have more demos about spread and the rest operators. What else we can do with the spread syntax is, what if we have 2 arrays, like what we have A, B, and C. So these are like, let me just say here, cars 1, and here cars 2, and I will basically have A, B, and C. What if you want to combine both of them together? So you could do that with which is called a new array, with the spread operator, where you could basically spread every single element of that and then spread every single element of the second one. And that what means is that it will take those AB, we'll kind of take them and then kind of put them kind of here, and like A and B, you know, and we do the same thing to the second array, which is take C, D, E, take them and then split them. So that's what's actually doing. It's just spreading the array. And what this results, it results to combining two arrays into one array. So if I now want to transform a new array, what I'm going to get is the new array, the whole length combined. Two of these arrays are combined. But yeah, cool. That's about it for arrays. And don't forget, if you have any question, leave them in the comment below. And if you have any suggestions about future videos, do that as well. I will see you in the next one.